going.
All right, so like hello there, YouTube. This is Aaron Moland. I'm working with KvO at the current moment, and basically what this is we're taking the local Brampton artists and basically interviewing them and just kind of trying to like get a sense of what makes artists tick and basically what inspires artists to like do what they do. And basically right here we have Tam Hart.
Just Tam.
Tam?
Yeah,
All right.
just Tam.
We have Tam right here.
Yeah.
So like, what's your inspiration?
That's a pretty big question. Inspiration for what?
Like your inspiration for music.
For music. Music's been one of those things that, like, if I didn't do it, I don't imagine myself doing anything else with the majority of my time. If I don't do it for a certain amount of time, I just get sick. And yeah, I've tried many different things in my life, like tried my hand at different career choices. I was like in real estate at some time, at point, and like was interested in finance, business, and all that. And nothing made sense to me. And it was only when I picked up my guitar and started singing did I actually feel alive. So I go by that now, like if it actually makes me feel like alive. So that's how I'm inspired through music.
Yeah. So I suppose like what type of genre are you most interested in?
That flips between like blues, jazz, and R&B.
Yeah.
Just because like I feel that there's just a lot more soul into it and sophistication, which I really appreciate in music.
Okay. Yeah. Is there any certain artist that really inspired you to like just continue on, like moving on and just continue like going down the path that you're going down?
Yeah, I mean, like when I started off music, it was more like the singer-songwriters and artists that were stars. Like I listened to a lot of like Jack Johnson, John Mayer growing up, like just seeing how they would play and hold space with just them and the guitar, and I thought it was incredible that they would be able to do that. And now as I'm maturing as an artist, I'm not necessarily letting go of like the spotlight, but now I'm learning to share and be more of a producer and be okay with like doing stuff behind the scenes as well as in front. So now I'm looking more into like producers, actually, like Timbaland, for instance. He's a big producer that I admire. And yeah, like a lot of the heroes I have now are people that I know, because there's a connection, there's a direct connection, and I'm able to see what they're doing and support them, and they can support me.
Yeah. And basically, like, I've known you for like a while now, and basically, I kind of want you to like just like explain like how the superstar life is in like Hollywood. Only because like I know that you lived there for a couple years, and kind of had a feel for how that was and how was it for you.
I was actually only there for 6 months.
Yeah.
So, but I was Hollywood dreaming way before then. I mean, I think all of us are just inundated with images or ideas about what it means to be happy and successful in this material world, in this Western world, and my whole life was kind of like building up to moving there and making it. But I realized when I went to like Los Angeles and specifically Hollywood that there's a lot of illusion and like smoke and mirrors and a lot of just playing up the idea of it, the idea of what it means to be successful and happy, when a lot of it is just, it's fake. It's very fake, and it's just most of the time someone just holding a camera, and then the post-production is what makes it so magical. And seeing that firsthand, seeing cameras in my face and in other people's faces, I started to understand the process. And there is a specific quality about a star that makes them unique as human beings. I see a star as someone who's kind of like the lighthouse. They shine light, and they're just so inspirational. They have so much energy. They have something that they can share, right? But what I also realized when I was in Hollywood is there are a lot of people who want to be stars, who want to chase the dreams and chase fame, right? And that's where I think like all these scummy and like shady stories come from, and like people just desperate to try to get this attention. And by the end of my experience in Los Angeles. I actually had a very grimy, like, very, I wouldn't say, I could call it dirty. I'd call it a dirty experience where I wasn't in a very healthy space, and I was like negotiating a deal with like a big Hollywood hotshot, and it didn't end up working. It didn't end up working out, and I started to see that, like, you know, me being dependent on somebody for my success was gonna eventually like lead to like a codependent relationship, and I may not have ended up being very happy. Like, I had mental health issues, and no amount of money or success was gonna like cure that, wasn't gonna take that away. I needed to do the work myself, and, you know, at least meet the world halfway before, you know, the success can come. So ever since coming back from Los Angeles, I've started to not dream big, not have to, I don't have these pipe dreams anymore. Like, I left Canada and went to Hollywood to try to find to be found, basically, right? I wanted to go there to be discovered, but when I left, I learned and discovered myself. I learned what I was capable of, like sleeping on the street, meeting like drug dealers, like drug addicts, like people of all walks of life. You know, they're there, and the people that I met were like semi-celebrities. They were the most kind of distant, actually. I was actually treated better by the homeless people and people that were like really in bad situations, more so than the people who had means. So it really taught me about what it actually means to like have good people in your life, you know. And now that I'm back in Canada, my perspective has changed completely. Like, now that I've found myself, right, I'm starting to see the ways in which I've fallen on responsibility, or in ways in which I've disassociated through my music. Like, I escaped reality by using music as an escape, but now I can't do that anymore because I'm getting older, and like I've got debts, I've got dreams of my own, right? Like, however impractical they are. But now it's all about those little baby steps. It's actually like, how can I make $50 from a show as opposed to like 50 million where I can't even process in my mind, you know? So it's the whole thing in Hollywood was, I would say, a humbling process, learning to remove all the layers of who I thought I was, and what it revealed to me was what I was actually capable of, like the strength that came from within, like the warrior that I never thought it was possible. Like, there was this one point where I was like starving and like on the brink of physical exhaustion. Like, I was not eating well, and I had found the energy and just the willpower to like get up on my bike and ride over 100 miles to San Diego from Los Angeles. And these things I never would have done if I hadn't been put in such an awful position, you know? So kind of coming back to Canada, like, I actually make less money right now than I did before leaving, but I feel like I have so much more. I feel like I have this wisdom now to actually build something solid.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, very interesting. And like, what type of, and Macy, what type of vocal training will you do dress the girl as an artist and dress the girl your talent?
So I studied under an old Korean pop star. She's not old. She used to be a pop star back in the day.
Yeah.
And she taught me some techniques on how to like develop the strength on singing, so like belting, for instance.
Yeah.
But when it came to like actual texture and like hitting the notes and like developing tone, there was another program called Singing Success by Brett Manning, who is a vocal coach for these stars like Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus, Keith Urban, and he has a vocal program CD out there that's like 12, 13 CDs, and it's kind of like a workout, and you know, you do it slowly and incrementally build based on your strength level. And I've been doing that for years. So, you know, what I've learned through music is like anybody can sing if they put in the time. You know, it's like what price do you want to pay for you to get the benefits?
Yeah, like, it's kind of like being like a visual artist as well. Only because like I paint and things like that, and basically when I work in like when I did my internship in an art gallery, like I had like once a day, like guaranteed, like there was always someone like who seen my work and said, oh, I can never do that, I can never do that. So at the end of the day, like the more I was there, and the more I kind of got to know people, like I got more people who like kind of get more into painting and things like that, and then they actually started to like realize that, hey, like it just needs to take time and energy. Yeah.
So how is it being an artist in Brampton?
Being an artist in Brampton, I feel really well received in Brampton. It's one of the cities that I feel like the infrastructure, the way that they built it, is quite intelligent. I mean, this whole square here, this whole meeting area allows for people to just come and have like a leisurely family feel. Whereas big cities like Toronto, I feel like there's a big disconnect because it's so big and busy. It's hard for people to actually meet and see the same people all the time, unless you're a part of a specific clique or group, for instance, right? I feel like the music scene in Toronto is, it's kind of scattered and very difficult, in my opinion. And scenes like Montreal or Los Angeles or San Diego, like they all have their own specialty, but I feel like there's a need almost in Brampton. I feel like they set it up so that they could bring in artists like me who have the skill and who have the talent to actually, provide value. There's the stage set up, and now it's like we're all the artists to make this place even better than it is. Yeah, I feel like it's very stable and calm, and for me, I'm appreciating this right now because of my recovery process and just like building and like almost like training for me. This is a good training ground. And like I said before, it's like it has a very communal feel, which makes it very easy for me to put my music out there, but also for people to come and enjoy music. Yeah.
So do you play gigs?
I do. Right now I'm playing at the farmers market. It's been almost every Saturday, and that's gonna go on hopefully until the end of the fall, until the end of the farmers market. And we recently got booked for a private party. So Sid's coming back from Los Angeles.
Is it more than just one of you? Like,
yes. Yeah.
Oh.
So now there's two of us.
Okay.
And I've been playing with my bandmate actually for years now, but
Okay.
I was a solo artist and he was doing his own projects. But now I'm living with him in Brampton, and we have a band now, and we are called the Con Artists, and we're focusing at the moment mainly on doing 90s hip hop and R&B covers. However, my own individual music, I already have 2 albums out and a third one that's finished but hasn't been produced yet. So yeah.
So do you work on these things by yourself, like your art, your own album? Do you like produce them and like, or do you get like professionals to do it for you?
I wouldn't say I'm that strong as a producer yet. I'm still growing, and that's probably going to take a couple of years where I would feel confident enough to release an album on my own, where I would produce it on my own as well. For the past 2 albums, I've found other producers to help me produce my album. They've been different. The first one, my first album, Pieces of LA, was released under the name Tam Duong, which is my legal name, and that was student produced. So I was in school at that point, and one of my best friends, he produced it. And the second EP was under like an alias, Damien Young, which was kind of like my attempt at going for the pop kind of image, right, being a pop star. And that was produced by a bigger name producer named Dan Broadbeck, who's done work with like I think it was the Cranberries. Basically, he's worked quite a bit, and he was also my teacher when I was studying in school. And this third album is going to be produced hopefully by another producer of equal caliber who was a teacher in my school when I studied music production. Yeah.
How do you think the music industry treats you?
Pardon?
How do you think the music industry treats you? Like, does it treat you well? Is it hard? Is it difficult? Is it good? Like, what do you think?
You know what? I find that now that I'm getting a bit older, a bit wiser, and starting to reflect upon all the experiences I've had with the music business, I feel that in North America especially, there's a definite distinction between professional and amateur. And in fact, if you're amateur, it's like, oh, you're just amateur. You're never, you don't get the spotlight. Whereas in other cultures that I've experienced, especially in South America, it's like everybody's involved with the singing process and dancing. Culture is part of like the fabric. So being in Canada, I find that there is almost like a pressure to be like, to make it, quote unquote, whatever this make it means, whether it be signing like a label or like, being financially successful, right? And because of this pressure, I definitely feel that it takes away from this patience that artists need to have, I think, to really cultivate themselves. Because I've fallen into many cycles of depression and mental illness because of this, like, this like almost like hero archetype, this hero like, oh, you gotta be this star, a rising star, you gotta make it and make everybody proud or whatever, right? And an analogy that's been placed on me multiple times is like Olympics, right? Like, oh, you're not good enough, you gotta be like the best in the world to be good enough to perform at the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, people put a lot of pressure on this idea of being this hero, right? Getting all these medals, these awards and accomplishments. Well, what happens to those people after the Olympics? You don't talk about that. You don't hear that on the news. You don't, these stars, right? Like some of them end up in, very bad situations after, or they just blow all their money, or there's some sort of, steroid scandal, right? It's in our culture to like place the hero like in the forefront of what we value, but the reality and the crash of that is, our mental health. You see people committing suicide all the time because of this pressure. And now that I'm starting to see it, I see how younger artists are being affected by this idea and this ideology. And good for them if they end up making it or being successful or rich or whatever. Great, right? But for me, because I've thrown myself 1,000% into that way of believing and thinking, and seeing the effects it had on my personal body and my emotional and mental state, I don't think it's worth it anymore. Honestly, I don't think it's worth it to be rich and famous, to get signed and become like the next Justin Bieber or like Taylor Swift. These things, like, they come with consequences, and if I were to attain wealth or success at this point, it would be through very grounded means, slowly building with a firm foundation and a lot of integrity. Like, that's the only way I can do it now.
How much hours do you put into like the music? Like,
I would say I've put over 10,000 hours at this point.
Oh, wow.
And when I was 16, I was really ambitious, and I wanted to break down how long it would take before I became good, right?
Yeah.
And I read this book. I didn't read the book, but it's from this book called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. 10,000. They talk about 10,000 hours and how people who are at the top, who become masters of their craft, they invest roughly 10,000 hours. So I broke that down, and it equated to roughly 3 hours of practice every single day for roughly 10 years. So I'm still committing to that, actually. At least, whether it be through my business, through the music business side of things, through like learning something new, through talking to new clients, or actually playing guitar or performing, like that goes towards the 10,000 hours.
Yeah, yeah. So in your opinion, in your opinion, how hard it is? So, in your opinion, how hard is it to like actually achieve personal success, like through your understanding of it, through your experience trying to do it?
Mm-hmm. See, that's the thing about the success thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, people who seek success are already doomed to failure, because only you can define what success is. If you're placing your idea of success based on someone else's idea, then you're never gonna feel enough. You're never gonna have enough. It's always gonna be, well, I already won 1 Grammy, but this other dude got 4. I'm gonna go back and get 4 more Grammys. Then at the end of your life, like, you're gonna have all these accomplishments, but like, how much did you commit to your relationships with the people, or like experiencing real joy in your life, So I would say that success is defined by how effectively you can share your gifts and feel a sense of happiness and accomplishment from that. And that has to come from within, not from outside of yourself. So now now that I'm slowly releasing this idea of what it means to be successful from other people, whether it be my dad or my mom or, you know, like the music industry, the big bad music industry, starting to not care as much. And because I'm not caring as much,
Yeah,
I'm becoming more successful.
Hey, that's good, man.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, it's very interesting just to like hear you kind of like explain your philosophy and things like that. Only because it's very just interesting to see how people view things. Because some people may view things at a younger age, and then they basically, when they grow up, like they're gonna realize that like that about what they thought like was wrong, and that's just part of the learning process. So like so like if a younger artist like who's trying to like achieve the kind of success that like you've achieved at this point, like what advice would you give them?
I would say take risks only if you feel that, you know, you're comfortable with them, because there are enough horror stories of artists doing things that they are ashamed of, or things that are very sketchy in order to get fame or, you know, some sort of step up in the business. And I don't think that's necessary at all. I don't think so. I think that having a strong base on integrity and taking small baby steps along the way will, you know, the trajectory of that will go way farther and longer in your life than if you were to just like take this massive big risk and do what I did and just get into tons of debt, abandon everything and move to Hollywood and, like, you know, hopefully get like a shot of getting discovered, right? Like, those things happen too, and maybe that's part of your journey if you know that's what you want to do as an artist. But I don't think it's necessary. Like, I feel that every artist has their own sense of comfort, and it's about leaning into that edge of your fear just a little bit and growing from that, because you can integrate those little steps, but those bigger steps, if you step too far, you can crush your spirit so much that you want to give up completely. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Well, like, do you have a YouTube channel or like or something that like we could like post in the description?
Yeah, you want to plug?
Yeah, so my individual music is it's going to be at tammusic.com, so TAM music.com, and for my band info, it's theconartists.com, so the con KHAN and then artists.com.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, like, thank you guys for watching it. Thank you guys for actually sticking around to like the end, and basically, hopefully, hopefully, like to like see you soon. I'll see you guys later.